Welcome to the Winning Platform Owner Podcast. In this episode, we're going to just relax and do a little shop talk session where we'll cover some great questions I get from platform owners and executive sponsors and what my answers are to those questions. I think it's going to be fun, so let's go. All right, well, welcome back to the show. Welcome to the show. If you're joining for the first time, my name is Ben Pierce, and I'm your host on the Winning Platform Owner Podcast. Glad you joined us today for this podcast. You know, it's been an interesting week. My wife and I celebrated our 26th wedding anniversary, and I could not be more grateful and thankful for her. She's been the difference in my life ever since day one. So that was a great time. We actually celebrated 25 years last year in Hawaii, so it was going to be hard to top that one. So we just went for a nice dinner and dessert and had a great time together. So that was exciting. My youngest three kids went to church camp, so actually it's been kind of quiet around the house here. If you're used to having kids around, you know how noise just seems to come with them, right? And so it's been quiet around here. That's been odd, but kind of nice. We have had our oldest daughter home with us, so she's getting ready to start her senior year in college, and it's been nice to be able to get some quality time with her, and we've been doing that. In fact, we were out to dinner the other night, and went shopping, and we got on the topic of, you know, her profession. She's going to be a nurse, and then professions in general. Somehow ended up asking her the question what IT stands for, and there was a slight pause. My family just never knows what I do for a living, and you might be the same way. So she pauses and she goes, "It was a good guess, right? It was a good guess." She says, "Interesting technology?" And I thought, you know, that's not what it stands for, but maybe it should, because there's a lot of interesting stuff that goes on in the ServiceNow world for sure, when you consider all of the great stuff that's on the platform, but then also the new stuff coming out with all of the AI and how it's incorporated into the platform. It's definitely interesting. So I thought I'm going to tell everybody about that, because that was a good answer, even though it wasn't the right answer. And then later on, she said, "Dad, you know, really what that means to me is nerd." And so I got a good laugh out of that too. We joke around a lot in our family. Well, look, I thought we'd do our session today just kind of in relax mode. There's a lot of questions that I get throughout the weeks of working with platform owners and executive sponsors. And I always write them down, because I think, boy, I'd love to cover this topic on the podcast or that topic on the podcast so that everybody can benefit from these good questions. And it's gotten to where I just have this big list, and it would take a long time to get to the questions. So my thought today was that just go through some of them. Honestly, I don't even know how many we'll get through, but I just want to go through the questions and kind of go through my take, kind of hot takes style, right? And hopefully it'll be useful to you and you'll get some good information out of it. And then if we need to go deeper on a topic, certainly just message me out there on LinkedIn, or put in a comment on the podcast. I'm out there on YouTube. I'm on Spotify now, on wherever you get your podcasts. Those are the main ones, but definitely will go deeper on any of these topics if you want to. But I thought I'd just kind of go lightning round mode, hit some questions, tell you what I think are the answers, and then we can go from there. How's that sound? So first question up is one I get a lot. It is, what is the most important role on the team? And that would be your ServiceNow team. What's the most important role on the ServiceNow team? My hot take on that is it is the platform owner role. The platform owner role is the most important role. If you're an executive sponsor and you're listening to this and you don't have like a dedicated platform owner, you should change that. You need a dedicated platform owner for the ServiceNow platform. And you need somebody that can just lead out, whether it's leading the ServiceNow team, whether it is leading the charge on how much value you are getting from the platform and making sure that you are getting value from the platform. You need somebody in that role. You need somebody in the leadership role. They can't do everything, but I would say that is the most important role on the team, is the platform owner. I think probably a close second to that would be your platform admin. Definitely, they're not the only role on the team, the admin or the platform owner, but both of them play a real critical role. And I think most important role on the team, platform owner. Second most important, probably platform administrator. Next question is related. It's, how do I scale the ServiceNow team? And a lot of times this question comes in the same breath or in the same kind of line of thinking as, what is the minimum viable team that I need? I would rather hear, how do I scale the ServiceNow team, as opposed to, what's the minimum viable team that I need? Because minimum viable team, when I hear that question asked in that way, it kind of says, hey, we just want to get by with the bare minimum of what we can do to keep the platform alive. That's not a good approach. I like the question on, how do I best scale the ServiceNow team? That to me comes from a better place. Maybe I'm just making that up, but that's how it feels when I get asked that question. So how do you scale the ServiceNow team? I would say you think about a few things. One, where are you at? Do you have the right skills for right now? So that's the first thing to consider. How do you scale? You look at your strategic roadmap and you determine what's coming up on that roadmap. How are we doing? Are we implementing the next application that we were set to implement? Have we done these different things that are on the roadmap? Because you can look at that roadmap and you can prepare for what your team needs to look like. Maybe you're taking on HR, the HR application. You know you're going to need somebody who knows that. Maybe you're going to take on the CMDB and really get going on the common service data model. You're going to need a CMDB admin, no doubt about it. So you can look at your strategic roadmap and determine how you need to scale your team. Now, there's one other aspect to it that you have to think about, and actually it's very helpful to think about. ServiceNow has a lot of guidance on this. So if you look at their guidance around the Center of Excellence and Innovation, and also their guidance around kind of the team structure and what that could look like and how you grow in your Center of Excellence and Innovation, also known as COEI, you look at that, it's going to give you a basic roadmap of how you could scale your ServiceNow team and your operating model for that matter. But look at it for the team, understand a good way to scale, but then you have to look at your roadmap to understand exactly how you will scale that team for your organization. Okay, next question. What is a COEI? And what does it do for me? Well, as we've talked about before, COEI stands for Center of Excellence and Innovation. And it's a mental model or a framework that you can use that ServiceNow provides. And it's really designed to remove barriers between different parts of the organization, whether that's governance pieces of the organization or the business units that you serve, basically trying to remove white space between those groups so that decisions are made more quickly and value is delivered more quickly on the ServiceNow platform. Now, that being said, what does it do for you? Here's my take on that. What it does for you is it helps you to, yes, get the right people in the conversation at the right time so that you're not bouncing around and value delivery is slowed down. But actually, the COEI, the way ServiceNow talks about it now and describes it, it gives you a great mental framework for how your operating model, that is the team structures and how you interact with your business units that you're serving and the governance, and it gives you a great model on how that combines with your governance structure, your strategic governance, your demand governance, demand governance, and your technical governance. So to me, that's the big power of the COEI in my mind, is it gives you a really good mental picture for how all that stuff should work together. And if you follow that, then it tends to work very well, and you're able to then speed delivery of value, which then enables you to have way more time and bandwidth in every way you can think about bandwidth, right? To do innovation on the platform and really do some cool things. So that's my take on COEI. Another question I get from a lot of different people is, why do I need a platform roadmap, or what's so important about it? The platform roadmap, first of all, you need to take a step back and go, well, what are we talking about here? If we're just talking about just a PowerPoint that shows you, here's what we're going to do first, here's what we're going to do next, here's what we're going to do after that, you don't need that. The truth is, you could sit down for an hour and throw that together, and there's your platform roadmap. That's not what I'm talking about, and not what you should be talking about. What you should be talking about and asking about is the need for a strategically aligned roadmap. And that's really why you need a platform roadmap. You need to be able to, first of all, say, okay, what are the strategic drivers? What are the strategic priorities that we are going to be working towards by what we do on the ServiceNow platform? That's number one. And then you have to map everything you do on the platform to those strategic drivers. That's how you create a lot of business value and you keep yourself aligned. The roadmap then allows you a very easy way to articulate the value you're providing the organization and how it aligns to the priorities of the organization. So why do you need a platform roadmap? Well, you really need a strategically aligned platform roadmap that gives you why you are doing what you're doing on the platform. Then that roadmap can help you determine the sequence of when you're doing it and dependencies and that sort of thing. So that's why you need a strategically aligned platform roadmap. This is a really good question that I get from platform owners. It's, how can I basically empower my executive sponsor? And a lot of times when I get this question, it's because the executive sponsor is struggling to fulfill their role. Maybe they're just super busy. Maybe they just don't know how. It kind of depends on the scenario. But a lot of times when I'm asked the question, it's because the executive sponsor isn't doing what they need to be doing in that role. So what do? So first of all, make sure you have an executive sponsor. If you're the platform owner, you need somebody and it might be your CIO. It might be someone just under them, maybe a VP of delivery or something like that. It doesn't even have to be in IT, but you need an executive sponsor to support the platform at the executive level, to understand and translate for you the strategic priorities of the organization and how they map to things that we're doing on the platform. They're a big help in that regard. So you got to have one. So how do you empower them once you get one? So the first thing is to open up those lines of communication. You should have a regular session with your executive sponsor Once a month is a great thing to do. If you combine that with, a couple of drop-ins, if you're able to, or some messages to them, basically keeping that channel open is the first thing you do. Why does that empower them? Because you're always letting them know about what's going on with the platform. For example, what's new, like what's coming, what could we be doing on the platform? Doesn't mean it's applicable for our organization, but hey, Mr. or Miss Executive Sponsor, I just want to let you know that there's some really cool capabilities in this area. We can dive deeper if you feel like it would be relevant for the organization, that kind of thing. So set up a monthly meeting, get the channels of communication open. That's one way to empower your executive sponsor. Another way is to do what I call value snapshots. And value snapshots are a simple, like 1 or 2, preferably 1 PowerPoint slide that describes a business problem that needed to be solved and how the platform solved it and what the results were in terms of real dollars saved, time saved, what have you, right? Real data behind that. What that allows them to do is have a quick thing they can kind of pull out of their back pocket and tell a story, right? A value story, so that if some other executive around the organization or some other business leader wants to know or has a similar issue or a similar business problem they're trying to solve, then the executive sponsor is empowered. They understand the value story there and the value use case. I call those value snapshots, and it's good to have them, have 2 or 3 at their disposal and then keep refreshing those throughout the time as you interact with them. Third thing to do is to actually let them know what you need them to do. That's how you can empower your executive sponsor as well. A lot of people, myself included, when I first started engaging with an executive sponsor when I was a platform owner, I really didn't feel like I could tell them, hey, I need this from you. Hey, I need that from you. But it's a good thing to do. Here's the expectations for you, Mr. or Miss Executive Sponsor, and here's how you can help. Right? Help us get the most value out of this platform that we can possibly get for the investment we're making. And, they of course want to do that. They of course want to help. Think of it as you're just cutting the fog for them, right? And let's not play a game. Let's not waste time with guessing. Hey, this is what I'd like you to do for us as an executive sponsor. And if you have that ongoing dialogue, that's a great conversation that you guys can have, and it'll be very fruitful. Next question is, what is the easiest way to learn about new releases? Now, obviously, we get this question a lot from folks who are new to the platform. And I love the question because it's actually not as simple as just the easiest way to learn about new releases. You can go to the ServiceNow product documentation site. They have tons of good content on their YouTube channel around new releases. And so there's a lot of content there. It's actually pretty easy to figure out what's going on with new releases. But typically what this question really means is, how do I find out the important stuff to me about the new releases? Which is a great question. And it's you always need to understand that, right, as a platform owner. So here's the way I approach getting that done. The best way to understand what the new releases mean to you is to actually divide and conquer with your team. So from a platform owner and platform architect to some extent, the platform owner, you really need to understand, okay, what's the new stuff that's coming, new features and functionality, right? And how would that apply to our business potentially? You're not going to get to decide if you put it in or not. The business decides that based on what they need, but you need to understand that. And the architect needs to understand that as well. But they also need to then understand the technical nature. So the platform architect needs to understand, well, okay, what are the technicalities that this new release introduces, and where do we need to do something different? Where is it going to affect us in the upgrade? Those types of things. And then you can have, if you have a BA on your team or perhaps a lead developer, you can have them also look at it from the perspective of what you have in place right now from an application perspective. For example, if you have a custom application, you would want your developers of that application, whether they're on your team or whether they're citizen developers, to understand how this new release impacts that particular application. So the real answer to the question is, the easiest way to understand how a new release is going to impact you, in my experience, is to divide and conquer and have different people responsible for different pieces. And then, of course, you come together on a regular basis and talk about that new release, talk about what it's going to impact, how you're going to handle it, when you're going to do upgrades to that release, and all of those things. That's how you get a handle on it, and you do it on a regular basis, because you can't really take your hands off the handlebars on this one, right? You have to continue to stay on top of what is coming in the next release, and you do that with a team effort. All right, we probably have time for one more question here for this episode, so I'll go for the one that's coming up most recently, and that is people wanting to start incorporating the AI capabilities of the ServiceNow platform. And the question is basically, well, wonder what use cases we should go after, right? What would be good ones to try first? And I'm going to tell you, it's a short answer here. Before you think about use cases, look at your data. Make sure your data is clean in the CMDB. Make sure that you're in alignment with the Common Service Data Model. And then start talking about your use cases. And then look at your knowledge data. Look at the specific data behind those use cases. So as I look at things, as I learn more about it, and I'm certainly no expert at the AI capabilities on ServiceNow yet, but I'll tell you, just on the surface, it screams data. And you probably see that as well and know that as well, but let me just confirm and validate your feelings. If you're feeling like that, take a hard look at your data. How clean is it? How good is it? And then look at your use cases, and then drill even deeper into how good your data is. So that would be my hot take on that one. I reserve the right to update that one as time goes along and we see how things develop on the AI front on the platform, but certainly some very exciting stuff that's coming and we're able to use. So, all right. Well, that's probably all the questions we have time for today. That went really fast. I really enjoyed doing this format, just kind of an ad hoc hot take. Hope you enjoyed it too and got some good stuff out of it. Again, if you have any questions or you want to go deeper on a certain topic, just message me out on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to do that. I want this to be helpful for you as a platform owner. I want you to win as a platform owner. And if you're not trying to win, well, what are you trying to do, right? And so that's my approach anyway. So thank you so much for listening. Appreciate you being here. And until next time, all the best in your ServiceNow platform owner journey. We'll see you next time on the Winning Platform Owner Podcast.